Hello, everyone. Yeah, I know it's been a while since I posted anything since I got back from my trip across America. I've just kind of been on a sabbatical. A lot of doing's been going on, and believe me, I wanted to post a lot, but my mind's been kind of since I got back from America for some reason. But yesterday, I was speaking at a local facility doing a presentation on forgiveness. Um, and I was poised a question, which caught me off guard. And I really appreciate these kind of questions because it makes me think. But in my presentation, I talked about what forgiveness is, why we forgive, why we should forgive, the effects of unforgiveness, and so on and so forth. I also say that forgiveness is a process that takes time. It doesn't happen overnight. There's different levels of forgiveness. You might have a friend that just, sometimes he just doesn't think or she doesn't think and constantly just repeats this kind of behavior, and they're really good friends, and it's really easy for you to forgive them and their defects of character. It's just you realize that's who they are. And then there's those really deep wounds that we have inside of us that could take quite a while to forgive. It's a process. We've got to work through a lot of different things in order to fully forgive somebody, as was in my case with my mother and my stepfather. So when I was talking yesterday, one of the things I was saying was that I was bringing up the fact that we've got to learn to not take things personally, because quite often what's being thrown at us is not personal. It's the incompetencies of another person throwing their garbage at us because they don't know any other way to do it. They got their own pain that they're dealing with, and the only way they know how to relieve that pain is to throw that pain on other people. And that's just a cold, hard truth. You take the example of a car driving down the road, or you're driving down the road, and you're having a great day. It's sunny outside. You're listening to music, and you're just enjoying the time. You're at peace with yourself and everything that's going on. All of a sudden, a guy cuts you off, flips you the bird. He slams on the brakes in front of you. He's just pissed off at the world. Do you really think that has anything to do with you? The reality is, no, it doesn't. What happened to that person in the hours, minutes, or the day leading up to that event that he just happened to come across your path and he just happened to take out all his frustrations on you? Did his son get thrown in jail that day? Did he just get laid off from work? Did his wife just get a bad report from the doctor? It's not condoning what they're doing. It's not, but they don't know any other way to do it. So we've got to learn not to take things personally. Remember, there's an old saying, there's one finger pointing at you, there's three more pointing right back at me. Okay? And so we've got to remember that. And it's a hard lesson to learn, especially if you're personal. Okay? I always talk about that situation when I'm talking and presenting this forgiveness presentation. And then there's a whole list of what forgiveness is not. It's in my book. I think there's 10 or 12 of them, what forgiveness is not. And the last two is, one, forgiveness is not allowing that person to come back in your life. Forgiveness is not allowing that person back in your life. And then the last one is, and forgiveness does not mean that you will ever have a relationship with that person again. And I struggled with those two for years. I forgave my mother. I forgave my stepfather. My stepfather was out of my life, so it was really easy, not to allow him back in my life. But I was struggling with the fact about my mother. It's called detaching with love. Now, if I was to see Jack, or if I was to see my mother at any point in time, would it stir up some emotions and feelings? It probably would. But because I fully forgave them, I would greet them with the love of Christ. That's what I'm supposed to do. It doesn't mean I have to engage with them in any kind of a relationship, okay? Because forgiveness takes one, but reconciliation takes two. And so I was talking about all this, and there was a guy that was really, really involved in the presentation. And I welcome questions. I need questions. It makes me a better person. It makes me think. And so this one person asked me, he goes, Randy, I'm confused because if we learn not to take things personally, and he says, and for example, let's take your mother. See, I use my own experiences in life because a lot of people just talk right from the book, but they don't talk about experiences. And to me, and from the feedback I get, they want to hear about life experiences. Well, how does that apply to life today? I mean, it's great that you know it from a book. You know, education is wonderful. Don't get me wrong. I'm going to school myself. But what makes my presentations even better is the simple fact that I talk from experience. Both about the pain, both about what I went through, and about the healing process that I've gone through. So he says, you tell us, Randy, not to take things personal. That's what you're talking about right now. But in the same tone, you're saying that person will never be allowed back in your life. But if you're not taking things personal, how come it still hurts you so bad? How come when your mom says stuff to you, it still gets to you? And it threw me for a loop. I'll be honest with you. It's like, wow, that's a really good question, you know. And one of the answers was, look, it's a great question. Number one, it really is a good question. Number one, my perspective is going to be different than your perspective of the way we look at things, and that's okay. Okay, that's perfectly okay. You might not take things personal, and then be able to let that person back in your life to a certain degree. Okay? That on the other hand, I don't take it personal. But I can't let her back in my life. And he kept on questioning why. And I didn't, other than those couple answers I just gave you, I didn't feel was a solid answer for him. So I've been thinking about it all yesterday afternoon, all night, last night, and this morning. And here's the reality of it is that I forgave my mother, and I forgave my stepfather. My stepfather was out of my life. My mother, no matter how much I forgave her, and I fully forgave her, I made my amends to her, but she still wanted to throw poison daggers at me. She still wanted to blame me for the abuse. She still didn't want to take accountability for any of her part in what not only she allowed Jack to do to me, but what she did to me. Okay, all right, that's it. I could live with that. Okay, but a biting dog will always be a biting dog. And I tried on countless times to reconcile with my mother. But every time I did, she bit, and she bit hard, really hard. She was not, and this is no disrespect to my mother. My mother passed away, but this is the reality. This is the truth about her. My mother was extremely wounded herself and extremely hurt herself. I've seen men over my 12 years in recovery, that would continue to go back in those relationships with their mother or their father. And every time they would come out of it, they'd be spinning out of control until eventually they relapsed. Now, that's them, that's not me. I chose for myself to protect myself. I'm only going to get bit one too many times, and then I'm not going to go back in the ring and get bit again. I'm just not going to do it. So I detach with love. So do I take it personally? No, it's not a personal thing, but there's emotions and the feelings that are attached to it that, you know, it was 30 plus years of emotional abuse by her. And those don't just go away. Those feelings just don't go away overnight. And in fact, no matter how much I worked on them, she somehow knew how to push my buttons. And she knew exactly what to say to really dig underneath the skin. When she attacked my father, when she blamed me for her, there's a lot of things that she did that were, I want to say unacceptable, but I'll say unexcusable, because we have to accept everything. So, do I take it personally? No. But what happens is I got this wounded kid inside of me that I've done a lot of work on, and I've got to protect that wounded child. because that child can still get wounded when certain people say certain things. Do I want it to? Do I go, oh, I'm going to get hurt this time? I don't go into it like that. In fact, my mother wrote a letter to me at the end, I don't know, a couple years ago, and she wanted to reconcile with me. And I said, okay, fine. I talked to my therapist and says, we're going to do it here in your office. I have no problem. She wants to reconcile. Let's reconcile this mess, and so we can both move on with our life. And so as we were proceeding to move towards that reconciliation, my therapist was talking to my mother, and my mother was still blaming me for the abuse. I'd already made my amends. I'd done everything. She still said I had a lot to do with the abuse. It was a lot of the abuse was my own fault. And so we made the decision, with my therapist's help, that no, the reconciliation is not going to take place because my mother did not want to own her part in it. Okay, does that mean I didn't forgive her? No, she's fully forgiven. Believe me, she's fully forgiven, just as my stepfather was. When my mother passed away 8 months ago, I was sad, but I could put my head down on my pillow going, I did everything I was supposed to do. I'm good with myself. So it's not necessarily taking things personal when we have a wound inside of us and we have this little inner child. I was talking to one of my mentors yesterday, and he says, sometimes you just got to put your arms out behind you and you got to protect that little kid however you got to do it. And that's what I do today. I have to do it for myself. So remember, forgiveness is a process. It's going to be different for me than it is for you. There's different levels of forgiveness. And just because you don't take things personally does not mean that people can't still hurt you. You just got to be aware of what's going on and go, that hurts. I need to step back from this situation. I've got more to work on still. And I do. I mean, I've come a long, long way. But I still have more that I gotta work on today. So anyways, that's just was on my heart this morning to get on here and share about. I was going to do it live, but I just thought I'd post it. That way people could watch it as much as they want, if they want to, choose to want. Also, what I want to do at the end here is I'm hoping that you all join me and Topeka Patel. We're both life coaches. She's a holistic life coach, and I'm a transformational life coach. We're both on the same mission. We're going to do a one-day intensive personal communication workshop. And it's a phenomenal workshop. You know, people need to learn how to communicate, especially around the holidays. There's a lot we can do, just little tiny things in our life and communication is just not about talking. It's about listening. It's about hearing people. And there's ways real simple things we can do to learn how to listen to people, and not only listen to them, but hear what they're saying. And also, I like to say this. When you're in a conversation, do you got to yell and scream? Be honest with yourself right now. Do you got to yell and scream to be heard? Why? My guess is, like myself and a lot of the men and women that I've talked to, because you never were heard growing up as a child. You were never heard growing up in school. So the only way that you can be heard is to raise your voice. If you can't hear me talking normal, then I'm going to scream and yell. Then I know you're going to hear me. How many of you out there can relate to that? It's understandable. It's really understandable. So we're going to work on some tools that we can learn how to listen to other people and hear what they're saying, and hopefully learn how to communicate verbally in a way that people will understand us and ask for what we need in a conversation rather than assume that the other person knows what we need. So anyway, that's November 18th. There's been some posts on Facebook. I'm going to post another update today, one of my tips for that workshop. We hope that you can join us. Go to changeyourlifestorynow.com. Go to the more button, press on personal communication workshop. At the bottom of that, you can click on a button, you can register, or you can go to loveyourlifehealthy.com. That's Topeka's website, and you can register on her website as well. So November 18th, It'll be the registration starts at 9, the workshop's at 10, it goes from 10 to 5. It'll include lunch and some snacks and some other goodies as well. So I'm hoping to see you there. If you want to grow, it's one of the ways you can do. We're actually going to do a series of 16 workshops is coming up. So that's what we have planned right now. So anyways, hope to see you on the 18th, November 18th. All the information is on our website. And thanks for listening. Have a blessed day. Bye.